Today's session is about autocomplete case milestone using flows. So to understand the concept behind this, let us go and understand what are the use cases for this. So the use cases are like this. So when a case status is set to hold, you want to make sure resolution time milestone is marked complete. So here, so whenever there is a status change from one status to other status called hold, you want to make sure that resolution time milestone, which is running on that particular case, is being marked complete. Also, there's one more scenario where you see when an email is sent to customer, make sure first response milestone is marked complete. Maybe there may be a situation where you are waiting for a response from the customer until unless you are running the milestone and you want to close that milestone as soon as the email is sent or received from the customer to you. There's one more scenario is where when a comments field on case is updated, make sure that case responded milestone is marked complete. So there is one more milestone called case responded milestone on case, which needs to be set as mark complete whenever the comments field is updated on the case. So to understand this more, let us go and see in action what is mark complete option on milestones on the case. For this, let me open the org. So this is the org where I have a case here. So this is already the existing case. So if you see this case, there are various milestones that are running. It's like I see working as one of the milestone, awaiting response is one of the milestone, response received is one of the milestone, and each has its own timer. And there's one option you already saw and you're seeing here is mark complete. So mark complete is like whenever a particular task is being completed, like whenever the status is from working, you want to change it to some other status, like you want to change it to on hold. So that means there is a set of timer that has been set for the working status in your overall case management or case lifecycle. So you want to make it mark complete. So one option to make it mark complete is agent has to manually go here and click on mark complete. So this is one option that you can do. So as soon as you click on this, what is happening? You see that mark complete option is like the milestone called working is being completed. Similarly, if you want to complete again the response received based on some of the data here, like you got the update on the case, you want to mark complete the response received. Like in the scenario which we discussed earlier, when an email is sent from the customer to you automatically, or you want to mark this particular milestone to complete so that the timer stops and it's been completed. Like the task related to this particular milestone is already completed by the agent. So then you click on this. So now you see it's already done. Like again, I can change the status and I want to start one more milestone. So there's no milestone here. That's fine. Yeah. But so what happens when you click on mark complete? First, let us understand that. So when you click on response received milestones, so we can open the milestones that are related to the case on by selecting that milestone. So there's an object inbuilt which is part of case. It's a child object for the case called CaseMilestone. This every record gets created for each milestone that is been associated with the case. So when you open that particular milestone, when you click on this particular milestone, you see a record gets opened that is called CaseMilestone record. And you see some of the fields which are here mentioned here. So in that one important field is called completion date. So this is the only field which you see editable and start date. These are the two things which you see editable fields on this. So none of the other fields are editable, and also you cannot create any more fields on this. Only the fields that you get out of the box is what you can use it. So you cannot create any new custom fields on case milestone object. So what happens is when you click on case milestone mark complete, when you click on the mark complete, automatically these two fields gets updated. So I'll show you for you. Like if I change this and click on save, automatically I see the milestone comes back to me. So that is what. So here I have to manually click on mark complete so that the time gets updated. So if you see now, the time getting updated again back. So this option should be automated. So what are the reasons for that? So there are various reasons. One important reason is maybe a agent is being assigned with multiple cases like for a day. Like is handling nearly 10 cases per day. And for a case lifecycle, think like, let me show you a table. So this is a table where for a case lifecycle, I'm using this individual record type. There is 4 statuses that are part of case lifecycle. It starts with new, it goes to working, it goes to email sent, it goes to response received, and there may be other status. So that is a life cycle of a case. And for each life cycle, there is one milestone that is been associated as per the business process. Now, when an agent is handling multiple cases, like 10 cases at a time, and he's changing the status based on the response received or based on the particular task that has been updated, he has to go and manually update that mark complete. So there are 2 chances here. He may forget about it, or there may be a scenario like, think like there is some pressure from his leads and he has to make sure that the milestone is not violating. So if you see here, something got violated. What does that mean? So I'll just show you. So if I take back this date and save, you see, this milestone is already violated. Violated means I have defined a set of time for this. So for working, I've set for 3 days, but more than 3 days, I'm working on the same case on the same status. So it got violated. So I just want to make, as an agent, I just want to make sure that this violation should not happen so that it is not escalated to my higher management. Maybe there may be a chance in that way. So there are 2 reasons. One reason is agent may forget, or one reason is agent may he want to make it mark complete even before the status is changed so that it's not been escalated. In these 2 scenarios, it's not good for the business. Like you ask agent to manually mark. Maybe in some scenario, it's not ideal situation. So to solve this process, Salesforce has come up with auto completion of milestone. Like you can write a trigger logic to automatically change or mark the milestone complete, so that agent is out of this particular scenario. Like he no need to go and do mark complete every time when there is some change in the case logic, something like that, based on your business scenarios. So let's understand first what is that. So this is the article documentation from Salesforce where autocomplete case milestones. And if you see here, they have mentioned how to achieve this. You have to create you have to use case milestone object to update the case completion date. So this is what you need to do. So what we have to do, whenever, as I showed you, when I click on mark complete, automatically the completion date is getting updated. So since we have an option to update the case milestone record using a trigger from the whenever case gets updated, you want to invoke the after update trigger, and you want to call the child object of a case called case milestone object, and you want to update this field. So it's pretty easy for triggers. So the Salesforce has provided you the details of how to do and various scenarios. It's like you can go through this logic. He has mentioned various scenarios for doing this option, like in what all scenarios you can go and update and what are the use cases. So the same thing is being updated here also. So the way which I'm showing is about flows. Instead of going with case triggers, I'm going with flow, record trigger flow on case. Let me show you that. So that is what about the article which has been there. The solution is, as I showed you, one way is agent manually uses the mark complete option, and the other way is flow, okay, or triggers, anyways. And one more thing is, I just want to show one more option here. You can always make you can remove this option from the UI so that agent will not have an option to edit manually. So to do that, what we have to do is we refresh, edit page. So when you add milestones onto the page, record page, flex page, you can make this checkbox hide mark completed, so that agent cannot do once you make this as hidden, so he cannot manually update the milestone to mark complete. So when you check this checkbox, make sure that you have a logic inbuilt which will automatically make the milestone mark complete based on your business scenario. So I'm just making it as save. Okay. Now you cannot have that. So now if I change the status from something escalated, so it's done. Okay. So let's take a new example to do this, because with the old example, we don't have that. Okay. Before that, let me show you the logic, how it works. So what are the different things that are needed for this? So let's go one by one. So for the first step is query. So what I'm doing is, in my previous session, I have mentioned you about how to use metadata to get the milestone timer. So you can refer that. So for that, I have created one metadata which has all this information. I have the entitlement process. There are two entitlement process and entitlement record, which is required, and then account associated to that entitlement record, and case record types. I have two case record types, business and individual. I have case status. So based on each status, I want to have one milestone. And for each milestone, what is a timer? So in my previous session, I have mentioned you how to dynamically give the milestone timer. So for that, this table is very helpful. So the same table I'm been using. So the first step here is, as you see, query the metadata with previous status and record type name and store the milestone name in the variable. So why we want to query the previous status? Because once I'm changing from one status to other status, so now I'm changing from escalated to email sent. So the escalated related milestone should be closed. It's not the email sent milestone. Email sent milestone is the new milestone that gets started once you change the status. So the previous milestone details I need. So I need the previous, like trigger.old. In trigger sense, it's set trigger.old data I need. So for that reason, I'm querying the metadata with previous status and status value, which is a previous value, and the record type name, and store the milestone name. So maybe the previous status is from created. I'm changing my status from new. I'm changing it to working. So I need a milestone name, which is previous one. That is new. For new, what is the milestone name created? So that is what I'm doing here. So step one is to query the metadata. Now, once I have the query the milestone, once I have the from the milestone, metadata, I have the name of the milestone. This is the name. So now query the milestone type using the name added in the various previous step. So now I have the name. So you have an object called milestone type. From that, you can get the milestone ID. So to get that, I have the name. So I can query using the name. So now I'll be getting all the milestone IDs. So get the milestone type record and add the corresponding ID into a variable. So that is what we are going to do. Then query case milestone using the IDs. Now you have an object called case milestone and you just query those. Okay. Update each record with the completion date. So you have in some scenarios where there may be multiple milestones on the case, and out of 3 milestones, you want only 2 milestones to be completed when its status is changed. So that logic also you can write based on your business scenario. So that's the reason we need to bulkify this flow. It's not a single record flow. Okay. Always flows are bulkified, but you need to make sure that you get multiple milestone IDs. It's not a single milestone that you may be getting. You may be getting multiple milestones also in one status. So for that, let me show you the flow. So let's see how flow is being written. So I'm writing a record trigger flow on when a case is updated. So whenever a case is updated, and since I'm going to update the child related record, I'm using actions and related record, but not fast field updates. That's the reason it's after trigger flow. It's nothing but after triggers. Okay. Now, first thing is I'm just checking if status is closed or not, because on status close, anyhow, my entitlement gets closed. Automatically, all the milestones will be closed. So that's the behavior already, which has been set. So I'm just checking if status is not closed, then get the status. So get the metadata records based on the status and the record type name. So from here, this record, suppose the status is going to working. So I need a record, which is record 6, which is new, and status is new and record type is individual case, so that I'll be getting the milestone called created. So you may have multiple milestones for a particular status. So that's the reason I'm using loop here. So it may be a list. So I'm getting all the records with that particular status and the record type. Next, loop through that metadata. Now for each record, add the milestone name. So I'm just adding into a variable, like in a Apex list, right? You'll be adding for each loop, you'll be adding a variable to that, right? You are just looping that as we do in Apex. So now query the milestone type. So this is the object where I can get, based on the name, I can get the IDs of that milestone. So I'm just getting the name. Based on that name, if you see here, it's an in operator, so that I will be getting the list of milestone records for that particular name. Okay, because I have multiple names. Sorry, for each name, I'll be getting one record, multiple milestone type record. So again, since I'm getting that particular record, I'm just assigning it to a variable called milestone IDs. So I'm just looping through it and I'm getting it. So now I have all the IDs with me, so that now I can query the case milestone. Now get the case milestone. Yeah, case ID, I need case ID, and milestone type is a field ID in which I have all the milestone IDs, and is completed equals to false. I don't want to query the milestones which are already completed. Okay. And once I have everything, I want to update the case milestones by assigning the completion date. I'm just assigning the completion date and the corresponding case milestone ID also. And at the end, I'm just doing the bulk update. I'm just updating the record which I've got here. So this way, we can use flows to close the milestone automatically. So for that, let me show you other fields which I've been using here. You see, I'm using the collection variables called milestone IDs to store the IDs of the milestone from milestone type object. Then I'm also using milestone name to store from the metadata when I'm storing that into this collection variable called milestone name. Then I'm using record collections like update milestone records like in the end. Then I'm getting all this other from the each query. And I'm doing the assignments and decision is not closed. And I'm just looping. So all these are the different elements. There is no any complex formulas or anything. I'm just using the variables to store the values. So let me show you quickly the demo, how it looks. So I'm just creating a new case, individual, case origin, email. I have individual. So some product I'm selecting, and the entitlement is individual, and description, autocomplete, milestone. Save. So the first milestone got created. Now, as an agent, I don't have an option to mark complete manually. So I'm removing that access to the agent, so that mistakenly also agents will not click on mark complete. That is one thing. Or if, even though they forget, when there is a status change, automatically the milestone gets updated. In these two scenarios, it is very helpful. So now I'm just changing this to working and click on save. Yeah. If you see now, it got completed. And if you open and see, it got updated with the date. So this is how we can achieve autocomplete of milestone using flows, or there's one more option using triggers. So that we can refer the Salesforce guide, where they have given various scenarios and various ways you can do this. And even they have also mentioned how to autocomplete a particular milestone when an email is received. Like one of the scenario which I said is, like whenever you receive an email, you want to close one of the milestone. So you have to write a trigger on email message object instead of case object. So the same logic there also. Yeah. And yeah, that's all. Thank you.